All right, here we go.
Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Now, this show, when it got announced, I was just like, okay, I'm curious what they will see because I love the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, that's one of my favorite trilogies. I mean, seriously, those movies are so epic and so awesome. Like, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And I never read any of the books from Tolkien, not one, but I love those movies. I am a diehard movie of fans of these movies. So when they announced a prequel, I was a little hesitant, but I was like, let's give it a chance. But like, I didn't even watch the trailer of it. I was just like, I will see it when it happens. And oh my god, why did they make this show? I mean, seriously, why did they make this show? Now there were some rumors that like apparently Amazon didn't have all the rights of making the show. If that's the case and you don't have all the rights to making a show, then why would you even make the show? Because the show will be automatically bad because you cannot utilize every character or every story or arc that you want to use. You can only like certain elements you can use, and that will make it not as interesting or engaging as it would. The reason why Lord of the Rings trilogy is so great is because he had full access, Peter Jackson had full access of all the characters, and Peter Jackson only had certain characters allowed to use, the movies wouldn't be what they are. So like from the start, it just kind of felt like, okay, we kind of to a rocky start. And then, you know, people got mad that black people and Asian people are in Lord of the Rings, which I feel like, look, they try to say it's this Northern mythology or Middle Eastern mythology. I mean, yeah, I can understand. It makes sense in Tolkien stories. There are no black people whatsoever. I mean, look at from which year the dude comes. I mean, I probably imagine, yeah, this dude doesn't like black people. Like people accept, well, they want to black people. Well, look at from which year Tolkien is coming from. I mean, seriously, do you think during that times that Tolkien were best friends with black people? No, he wasn't. So he never thought of black people when he wrote the show in it. But like having them in it now, it doesn't matter. Like for me, it's just like if you want to have black characters, cast black people in the new show, I mean, have it show. I mean, it's like, I don't care about this. And people call it, oh yeah, it's woke and all this. I mean, look, for me, it's important. You can cast any ethnicity and actor you want. For me, it's important that the actor portrays the character good and gives a good performance. That's all I care. I mean, seriously, they change characters, ethnicities all the goddamn time. I mean, look what they did in Eternals. They changed everybody's almost ethnicity in the Eternals. So, you know, people for this diehard Tolkien fans is just like, y'all sound a little racist there right now. But like, I mean, to be honest, Tolkien was probably too. So what were we even talking about? But like, so it wasn't a big deal for me having black people in the show. For me, the big deal is like the writing of the show is just awful. It's just bad. I mean, like, there are a couple maybe interesting or fun moments, but like when it comes to Galadriel and the main actress played by Morphy Clark, I hope I said the name right. I mean, the way they write her character is not like the way Kate Blanchett's character is written in Lord of the Rings. I mean, this is like a different version, you know, a younger one where she's a warrior and everything, but the way they write her character is not as a fun, entertaining character or a character that you feel empathy or sorry for. She kind of comes with more of a spoiled brat who thinks he's entitled and has authority. It's like basically like a Karen she comes out for. It's just like, you know, when she has this whole story, you know, of her brother fighting Morgoth and then dying, and then she just decided to take over and look for Sauron. I was like, okay, that can be an interesting story arc, but the way they execute her, they just make her so unlikable in the show. Like the writers write these characters so unlikable, and especially her, and she's one of the main leads. It's just like they make her so unlikable every time she was on screen. It was not enjoyable to watch the show. I mean, seriously, I mean, like, the characters are so bad written and so uninteresting, not engaging, not in a fun way. And then we have the Black Elf, which everything with him, with his story arc, when we go through with this village and the orcs and everything, is just like, yeah, he was not an interesting character too. I mean, he's no Legolas. The character was not interesting. It's just like, it was just so bland and boring and just bad writing. And then we get again this woke written show again. I mean, seriously, I mean, there's a moment where Galadriel with her soldiers, she's searching for Sauron, and then there's ice cave, and then an ice troll, or a troll that lives in this ice cage, attacks them, and all of them are standing around, and Galadriel is the only one that kills it, which I feel like, oh, excuse me, what the fuck y'all standing for? Everybody attack this motherfucker, seriously. I mean, seriously, it's like, the writing is so dumb sometimes. It would be like the scene in Lord of the Rings where they are, you know, waiting for the troll shows up, and only Gandalf has to fight the troll, and everybody just stands there. It's like, no, everybody was fighting and attacking the troll. But in this scene, because we have to show how a badass character, she killed a giant ice troll by herself, which is just so dumb. You can clearly tell that I was trying to tell, but like, it was so dumb. The way her whole story arc in the show is just not interesting, not engaging at all. The same with the story arc of the Black Elf guy is just not interesting. All these other characters are just like not interesting, not engaging, is bad writing, uninteresting. I mean, seriously. And you know, people say, oh, the orcs, they use practical orcs. Yes, great that they use practical orcs, but the orcs don't do jack shit in this show. They have not one interesting or awesome sequence with the orcs. Not one. Not one. I was hoping like to see like some orcs, some cool fighting orcs moment. We don't get that in the show. We just get some shots and walking around and all that. It was like, seriously, it's like the writers don't use the characters also in a fun or entertaining way. It's like the orcs are so awesome in Lord of the Rings and so terrible and threatening. They just look like sunburned people in this version, you know? And it's just like, and there was like an interesting thing which I feel like they could have made in the show, like with the father of the orcs and everything, with this one character, which was interesting, but like they don't execute it at all or go forth with that type of story. And then we get, you know, this whole Hundrum, or this dude that Galadriel was stuck with on this dude, who later, now this will be a spoiler, but like I will spoil throughout it, because like this show is just bad and terribly written, where this big reveal is that he is Sauron the whole time. I feel like, so if Galadriel haven't found him, and this dude, this other guy from the sea, from this other city that I can't bother to remember the name, if they're remembering all these names are just, these characters and the places are so uninteresting and so boring, like I don't even bother to remember them. It's like, if that dude didn't pull them out of the water, you want to tell me that Sauron would have died at sea? Sauron, the big bad awesome bad guy who would die at sea? What the hell is this? Seriously. Sauron's supposed to be this badass awesome character, and he's just like, no, I just want to be a blacksmith. I just want to do this. And then at the end they're trying to twist it like, oh no, it was his plan all along. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. Seriously. These writers sometimes think they're so smart, but like they just had no idea what to do. And then of course everything with the Halflings was just like uninteresting. I mean, seriously, everything was just like uninteresting and not engaging at all. The characters were just like, the main halfling character and her best friend were just like, first of all, they look like fucking 40 years old. Ain't no way they look like little children. They look like 45 years old. Yeah, and there was one thing I was like, you a grown-ass man, you a grown-ass person, you ain't no child, seriously. There ain't nobody convinced that, seriously. I mean, even if the actress isn't that old, she looks old as hell in this halfling makeup and everything. And then we have Gandalf descend from heaven on a fireball, and which I feel like this could have been, I mean, yeah, even at the end where he says, oh, wizard. I was like, so it's Gandalf. I mean, seriously. It took them 8 episodes to say it's Gandalf. Just say it's fucking Gandalf. I mean, seriously. Who else is gonna be? Some other wizard? And it's just like, this show is just like, there's like so many bad things about the show. I mean, the whole story arc, even with the halflings, it's just not engaging or not interesting at all. Again, like, they don't know how to write this in a fun and engaging way. And like, seriously, the only good part of the show, because yes, there is a good part of the show, is Elrond and Durin. That was the only part of the show that felt like I was watching Lord of the Rings, because everything else didn't feel like I was watching Lord of the Rings. I mean, just because there are orcs and it doesn't mean it feels like Lord of the Rings. The same way when I'm watching Endor now. The show doesn't feel like Star Wars. So, and it's just like everything with the dwarves and Elrond and Durin was awesome. I really liked that aspect of the show. That was the most fun, entertaining aspect of the show, and actually the best characters of the show. And I like during the conflict with his father, they were digging for this type of silver and everything. Like, that was everything interesting and fun and felt like Lord of the Rings, really. And Elrond, the actor who plays Elrond, does actually a good job. I really like the casting of Elrond. And they wrote his character in a good way. And I love the friendship that he has with Durin. I mean, that was my favorite part of that was the best part of the entire show. I mean, when him and Durin have this fight and split, I was like, come on, man, you're buddies, you're best friends. Like, that was really the best part. Everything with the dwarves and Elrond mixed together, those are really the highlights of the show. Everything else is just boring entertaining. I mean, like, it wasn't until episode 6 that we got a semi-entertaining episode. I feel like episode 6 was like finally stuff we're kicking out, because otherwise it's just talking and walking. I mean, yes, Lord of the Rings were also a lot of talking and walking, but you had a fun, engaging, entertaining characters and adventure, which is one thing that these showrunners forgot to write in. There's no sense of adventure in this show, not single. Like, there's no journey that the characters are really going. There's no sense of fun and adventure of this bigger than life adventure that's going on. It's just like, nah. Galadriel just does that because she feels like she has to do that, even though she doesn't. And I feel like it's just like, seriously, I was missing the adventure aspect of the show. This is Lord of the Rings. This was like one of the epic quests and everything, and now it's just like, we get a spoiled brat. We get a dude who, Sauron almost dies at sea for being a bitch. We get this black elf who saw the Simi, has a friendship with, romance with this woman. Yes, no, I don't know what the hell is going on between those two. It feels like they don't know how to write these characters, even though you have it written already for you. But like, if Amazon didn't have the rights to all the story arcs and all the characters, then you can really see and try to do the best out of it you can. But like, you can really see like they had no idea how to really write those characters and tell the story in a fun, interesting way. Because you have like basically 4 stories going along, and yet it's just like not very engaging, except the one with the dwarves. That was awesome. And also feel like what I really wanted to see was, I don't know, maybe some fucking rings, and not until the last 2 minutes of the goddamn last episode to see anything about the Rings of Power. It's called the Rings of Power, but it's not mentioned. It's not the main story arc of this series. It's not the main plot of this season. No, it's just the last couple minutes of the last episode where we finally get the Rings of Power, which I feel like it's called the fucking Rings of Powers. How about making the show about the fucking rings and not about all this other bullshit that we have to deal with? I mean, seriously, this would have been so much more interesting if the show would have been, you know, like the characters had the Rings of Power and how they use them, how they utilize them, how this whole work. This could have been actually very interesting. And I also feel like the story that they should have told was the war between the elves and Morgoth, because that 1 minute sequence we get where we get this awesome battle of eagles fighting, orcs, elves, everybody just fighting, fire, death, destruction, Morgoth and everything. I was like, yes, that's awesome, give me that. No, we don't get that. We get some other boring ass bullshit. I mean, seriously, Hollywood at the moment, like I said, is on a roll of delivering bad stuff. Like, seriously, we got She-Hulk, now we get this show, Halloween Ends, but was just atrocious. I just really feel like there are some good aspects of the show. Like I said, Elrond, Durin, those are really good aspects, but like the other aspects, the characters are not interesting or engaging at all. It's just like the typical bullshit stuff you get to see in this basically, you know, middle-aged stuff. It's like the same stuff. It's nothing new, interesting, or really cool or fun about it. I really feel like they should have made more the story about Morgoth. Because as soon as I saw him and like this 1 minute battle, that was epicness. And that was a really interesting villain and something different from Sauron. Because Sauron is just like, he's not even in it. I mean, he's in it, but like, he doesn't do shit in it. I mean, seriously. And then we have these 3 witches, which one of the witches look like fucking Eminem. I mean, every time I saw that character, I was like, with all Sim Shady's on the rules. Eminem just popped up. It's like every time I saw that character with the real Slim Shady, please stand up. Please stand up. It is just like, some of the scenes are so bad, I just had to bust out laughing. It's just like, also when that Slim Shady character just turned around, looked like the elf. I just had to laugh. It's just like, overall, there are sometimes some great aspects of the show, like I said, with Elrond and the dwarves, what I really feel like there was actually like some good writing in it, and it was actually an entertaining story. Everything with Galadriel feels more forced. It doesn't feel like a natural flow. There's also like, it feels more forced, this story, and it doesn't feel that interesting. And also the story with the Black Elf, like, it could have been done so much better, but like, if they didn't have all the rights to the characters, or the story, like, then I would say, like, then I wouldn't even do this show. Like, either have the full rights you can really utilize and tell the story correctly, because only if you can tell it half-assed, it will be a half-assed show. And like I said, it's just bad writing overall. It's just bad writing, uninteresting characters, nothing really engaging except Elrond and the dwarves. I'm gonna give this series 2 out of 10. Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Let me know what you think about this series. I was truly disappointed watching this show, and I really hope that if they decide to make a season 2, to really listen to the criticism and really try to write a better show, or try to get the rest of the rights or everything. Because if they continue doing this, I don't think I'm going to watch season 2. I mean, seriously, if the episode 1 of season 2 is just as bad as the previous ones, I'm just like, no, I'm done. It's like, I have the Lord of the Rings extended version. I will watch that to the day I die, because that's just nothing but pure epicness. And you always watch the extended versions, not the theatrical cut, the directed versions, because those are awesome. But thanks everybody for watching. As always, see you next time.